Hello and welcome to Circuit Ricardo Tormo on the outskirts of Valencia, where we have the sprint race for the Spanish Grand Prix. Yesterday we had sprint qualifying, which was taken by Max Verstappen, who in all fairness has not had the best of season so far. He got a ninth place with the fastest lap at the opening round in Australia after an 8th place sprint finish. He got pole at the Chinese Grand Prix and the pole at the sprint race. No, he didn't even get pole in the sprint race last time out, did he? I think he was second on the grid, but it's only 5 points for Verstappen so far this season. It's not been his season so far. He dominated the sprint race before the tyres went out just before the end of the race. He had to go into the pits to get a new set of softs on with about 2 laps to go, and it was heartbreaking for him. He dominated that sprint, deserved the win, but ended up going to Piastri. Can he hold on this time out, though, in the Red Bull, try and finally ignite his season? It'll only be 8 points if he wins, if he takes it from pole. But hopefully we'll see. It'll be. I mean, did I say 9? I said 8 points. I think I said 8 points. So he'll be up on to 13 points from the current 5 he's on at the moment. No, he's currently on. Yeah, he's on 5 points currently. So he'll be up to 13 points. It isn't amazing, but he has got the Grand Prix tomorrow to boost himself. Anyway, the sprint race. We are on the layout, as you can see up here, which held the Valencia E-Prix in 2021. The first race that weekend was very messy, of course. A lot of people running out of battery, out of energy on the final lap. But anyway, let's go through a grid. We've got a grid to go through. At the back, again, another disappointing qualifying from Sainz. He's right at the back with Porsche alongside him. We've got Maloney, Vesti, Doohan, Albon, your pole sitter last week for the sprint race in Adria. He's down in 15th place. We've got Gasly in 14th. We've got Sonoda, who, if you remember last week, caused a big crash. I mean, he didn't really cause it. It wasn't his fault, but he was the main culprit of the crash last time out in the sprint race, going through the hairpin. Then we got Drogovic, Lawson, Stroll, Hamilton, your championship leader, Oliver Bearman after winning last time out. We've got Russell, Antonelli, Leclerc, Piastri, Ocon, Norris, and of course Max Verstappen, your pole sitter. Bearman actually leads the championship by 28 points. So unless he has an absolute stinker of a weekend, he should still be leading the championship going into the kind of summer break, going into the Canadian Grand Prix in 2 weeks' time at Mosport. Of course, yeah, a new thing that was implemented last week. We actually have 20 seconds. Need to be careful. But yeah, a new thing implemented last week was the wildcard rule. So each team has 2 wildcards per season. Last week, Alpine brought in Gabriele Mini, Haas brought in Leonardo Fornaroli, and Ferrari brought in Valentino Rossi. This weekend, of course, not being used in the sprint race, but we have RB, who have picked up Pepe Marti, of course, the Red Bull junior driver. We have Aston Martin bringing in their new junior driver, their first ever driver in their academy, Mari Boyer. Of course, normally in F3, so quite a big step up for him, but of course it's nice to get a drive in F1. And then Mercedes, they've put in Alex Palou, so the Spaniard is going to be driving for Mercedes. Of course, he has tested for McLaren before. He has driven in the Formula 1 car in 3 practice sessions, and he has been part of McLaren, but McLaren have already basically confirmed they're running Alex Dunn and Pato Ward. So he went to the next best team which was available, which was Mercedes, who haven't really got any junior drivers that far up. So he went to them. Yeah, Alex Palou, 1 week on from winning the IndyCar Championship, takes on his first Formula 1 Grand Prix at his home race in Valencia. Of course, I don't think he's from Valencia. I'll have to have a quick check from which part. I think he's from Barcelona. Might be wrong though. Yeah, he's from Barcelona, so it's not his home city, but it's still a home Grand Prix for the Spaniard. Yeah, of course, one thing I do have to apologise for the Grand Prix last week. Unfortunately, there was no commentary. I still have no clue why it didn't work, but I'm making sure I'm always testing it before I start recording the commentary. Hopefully that won't happen again. I did not want to re-record it, but yeah, that is why there was unfortunately no commentary last week. It should not happen again. I hope so anyway. Anyway, all the cars are now on the grid, and we are ready to get going. Any second now. The 5 lights will light up here in Valencia. and it's lights out, and away they go here in Valencia. Who's gonna get the better getaway? I cannot speak, but it's Verstappen who leads Norris. Ocon has a bit of a poor start from third. He had a very impressive qualifying, down to fifth though. They're almost 3 wide over the back. It's the two McLarens going side by side. Ocon barges his way back into third place, past Lando Norris. And it's Oscar Piastri in second, Ocon third, Norris fourth, Hamilton versus George Russell further back for fifth place, sorry. They're still side by side, all further back as well. There's a Red Bull trying to get past an Alpine there. That would be Tsunoda. I'm not sure which Alpine it was. It's too far away for me to tell. But it's Verstappen with the perfect getaway from pole, who gets the lead as they go through past where the attack mode would be on if we were using Formula E cars. And then in the Formula E cutoff, which we go avoid the part which we use tomorrow for the Grand Prix. A very slow section of track there. Hopefully everyone's able to avoid it as we go into the normal final corner. This isn't the actual final corner though. We've got the final 3, which is the chicane. As Ocon's going to hit Piastri. Ocon almost spins there, and that's almost a hit for Piastri. And if Piastri hit the wall there, I think he might have. What happened there further back? There's a big off there, huge crash. McLaren's in the wall. That's Oscar Piastri with no front wing, and Norris is nowhere to be seen. Where's Lando Norris? There's a few cars coming into the pits with no front wing behind. I think one of them is a Williams, possibly Frederick Vesti. I'm not too sure though. It's a horrible start though. Oscar Piastri's got no front wing. Lando Norris nowhere to be seen. Where has he gone? Where is Lando? He's down in 8th place. He's still going. He's still going. He's not got much of a front wing though. So Norris also involved in something. He's not got much of a front wing. I believe the safety car is out, so that will take everyone at the end of this lap. As Verstappen's got a huge lead though, now. That will be cut short at the end of this lap, as of course they can keep racing. And now the Ferrari's running into the back of Piastri. Lewis Hamilton now with front wing damage as well. Ocon I think also has damage. Ocon's got a 10-second time penalty for causing a collision. That's probably one of the fastest penalties I've ever seen be given in Formula 1. He's got a 10-second time penalty for causing a collision. They've investigated that very quickly. He's proven to be the one who caused that incident, so he'll probably come into the pits at the end of this lap to serve that. Will he? Yes, he does. Ocon into the pits then. I think he's also got front wing damage when he rear-ended Piastri. But drama at the start of this sprint race. But it's Verstappen who leads Hamilton, who leads George Russell. Oliver Behrman, the championship leader, in 4th place. Leclerc in 5th. Who is that? It's Antonelli 6th, Tsunoda 7th, Lawson 8th. Any other issues? Albon's not got front wing and he hasn't pitted for some reason. And both Alpines are off as well at the chicane. Gasly's out of the race. Doohan's doing something. What is Doohan doing? What is Doohan doing? I don't know what Doohan's doing. Vesti is almost broke his front wing there. Sainz also near the back. Where's Zane Maloney? He's there as well. It's a horrible start for the Alpines and the McLarens though. We'll get replay shortly. We just saw this McLaren coming out of the pits. That is Oscar Piastri. Then Ocon as well, just further back. But Gasly has been involved. That chicane's caused 2 incidents in 2 laps. And before you say, oh, he's crashed on the safety car, no, he hasn't. Safety car rules don't go into place until they cross the finish line for the start of the next lap. But I think it's because Verstappen was already past the finish line by the time the safety car was called. That's why they had the extra lap. It's confusing, I know, but and the safety car was only because there was a big pile-up, which was able to be cleared basically, and then Gasly ended up crashing anyway, so it doesn't matter too much. Which layout are they using tomorrow? Because there was another. I know it's not that layout. It's not that part of it. But yeah, drama at the start of this race. The car's all behind the safety car now. A big gap between that front wing damage for Stroll as well. So he's gonna have to come into the pits at the end of this lap. Drogovic is missing an M plate, but I think he should be fine to continue. Yeah, it's basically 10th and 11th. The gap is huge between Vesti and Drogovic. I'm assuming all of these lot are to pit at some point. This plays massively, by the way, into the hands of Oliver Behrman, who's already got a 28-point lead on Oscar Piastri, 29 points ahead of Norris. And I think Norris also pitted, so he also had damage. Yeah, he's behind Ocon now. So let's get a replay on board of Ocon of what happened there on lap 1. Because that was messy. So going into the chicane, just outbrakes himself, almost spins. Has to take a weird line, pushes Norris wide. Piastri then hit the wall because of his line's been messed up. Norris then, whose also line has been messed up, gets pushed off as well. I'm assuming he broke his front wing in the back of his teammate. He's lost it in the wall. And then, yeah, I think the 10 seconds deserved from Ocon. Let's see off board then. Are we going to get VG? Yes, it looks like we are. Watch Norris. We saw this. This is what the angle we saw it from originally. That completely messes Piastri's line. He is going to put it to the wall. Norris as well gets pushed into the wall. But Ocon, his line was messed up anyway. But yeah, then they all get caught up in the mess. Anything else further back? I don't think so. Who came into the pits on lap 1? It was Maloney, Sainz and Vesti. So they've all been caught up in something. Let's see. I'm assuming it wouldn't be at the chicane. Oh, it is at the chicane actually. So everyone is getting checked up. And then, yeah, Vesti into the back of Doohan. And then Maloney into the back of Vesti and Sainz into the back of Maloney. Unfortunately. Then what happened to Gasly then? Because of course we saw him have an incident. He's out of this race, of course. Wait, what's that? Where's Stroll's front wing gone as well? We did actually see that. He had no front wing. Or was that Drogovic? No, that's Drogovic. So he hasn't got no front wing. Sorry, I'm being stupid. He says a little bit of damage. Nothing to worry about. It's a bit of a check-up here. Gasly goes off the track actually. And then what happened to into the chicane? I'm guessing they all just check up again. Yeah, they do. Norris into the wall again. And oh, it's a mess. And then he gets caught on his own front wing and into the wall. His suspension breaks. And Albon's got damage, Doohan got damage, but Norris also got damage there. Stroll probably got his damage there as well. It's a big mess, unfortunately. Anyway, we've got a Grand Prix to watch, so hopefully I haven't missed the restart. Safety car lights are off, and this was a minute ago, so I think we have missed the restart, unfortunately. But we'll fast forward anyway. And the safety car appeals in. This isn't currently live, but if we go on to the start finish line, we'll fast forward at the end of this lap. But let's see if anything major happened at the restart. Verstappen needs Hamilton, needs Russell, needs Behrman, championship leader, of course. He's on a very good podium streak, a very good sprint streak currently. He got a podium, a third place at Australia and Italy in their sprint races, the only 2 sprint races we've had so far. Can he keep his sprint race glory going? It'll be huge for him if he can, because that'll extend his championship lead even further with the 2 McLarens further back in the pack. Lando Norris 15th and Piastri 12th. His biggest threat is actually Piastri, so yeah, he has got 4 positions at least to make up. So Stroll and Doohan are way off the pack. So of course we saw Doohan caught up with the chicane and his teammate crashed. And then everyone else with a bit of a mess up there. Ocon down the inside of Maloney. Quite good camera angles. This is what of course FIA Grade 1 circuit. This layout isn't, but the main circuit is, so we have pretty decent cameras. It'll be a lot better racing than last week at Adria, that's for sure. The first FIA Grade 1 track we've been to so far this season, so quite nice to have a proper racetrack. Of course, host the Spanish Grand Prix, though the Valencia Grand Prix for motorcycle. Unfortunately, had to be cancelled last year due to the floods and replaced with a second race at Barcelona. But F1 take it on for the first time ever tomorrow. Of course, the first time on the layout, apart from the wildcard test on Thursday, will be later on today in FP2, and then we have qualifying and the race tomorrow. But calm since the restart. Of course, we are, as I've already said, behind, so we will fast forward a minute ahead. Might be quicker if I do it like that, I think. Yeah, and I can just speed up 10 seconds. There we go. So still Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, Lewis Russell, Oliver Behrman. Can we have a bit of a better camera angle, please? Thankfully nothing happened at the chicane we would have missed, but yeah, of course, DRS is available on this circuit. They have it on the main straight after the chicane. First time we actually had DRS was at Adria. Of course, there was a lot of things I mentioned in commentary for Adria that unfortunately was not broadcasted to the world. But something I mentioned were potential wildcard candidates. I think, of course, I did mention Connor Zilic. That was before I realised that, of course, he had his unfortunate incident in Victory Lane at the Xfinity race last week. So he actually could have been a candidate, possibly to be a wild card this weekend. I think Red Bull, oh no, not sorry, Red Bull, sorry, Haas are the most likely team to take on Zilic as a wild card, of course. Initially it's going to be Red Bull, but I think Red Bull, of course, they're running Pepe Marti this weekend in the RB, which means they only have one RB slot left. Arvid Limbad has basically been confirmed for Red Bull at the British Grand Prix, and then they have Nicholas Solov for the Bulgarian Grand Prix. He'll be in an RB, and it's basically between Zilic and Van Gisbergen on who races as the wild card. I know the rule originally was if you join an F1 race, you can't be a wild card. I think that rule has been changed to you can't have done more than 2 races. So if you've done 2 Grand Prix, then you can be a wild card. I had a slight feeling that rule, Williams must have approached F1 and asked, can we run, not Williams, sorry, Red Bull must have approached F1 and said, can we run Shane Van Gisbergen, as 1, he's never been a full-time F1 driver before, and 2, he has actually raced 2 Grand Prix before in 2023. He raced the Russian Grand Prix and the, Thai Grand Prix, of course, to replace the injured Logan Sargent after his crash at Monza of that year. Of course, his home Grand Prix, of course he's a Kiwi, his home Grand Prix is on the 7th of December, once the NASCAR season's finished, so I'm sure they're hoping that he'll be able to run. I mean, he will be able to run now because they changed the rules. There's been no official statement that Red Bull have said that, but I'm assuming that's what's happened, because now it looks like he will run for Red Bull. Other candidates have been Patrick Ward from McLaren, Alex Dunn from McLaren. That's basically McLaren's wildcard confirmed. Alpine are going to run Paul Aron at some point, and that's been confirmed. We just don't know what race yet. We also have Canadian Grand Prix next weekend. Of course, there's no big Canadian drivers. Of course, Nicholas Latifi is the first one that comes to mind. But he's been full-time in F1 before, so was actually not allowed to do it. And then we have, of course, we've got drivers like Iwasa, Hadjar. Has Hadjar done? I don't think he has done 3 races. I don't think he has. He replaced Sonoda last year when he was injured. I know he raced in South Korea, and I think he did 2 races. I think Hadjar could be a wild card, but there's strong links for him to be racing next year. Of course, Red Bull have basically already confirmed their junior drivers. But anyway, I mean, they've confirmed their wild cards, which is a shame for Connor Zilic, but they have to find a weekend that Xfinity isn't racing. So, and his home Grand Prix, he could do a Mid-Ohio, I guess, but yeah. Anyway, still Verstappen, who's led this race from start to finish. Hamilton in second, Russell in third, Behrman fourth. He's got a little bit of an end plate damage there. Well, it's not seeing much in terms of overtakes, which is, I thought we'd see a bit more of them. But hopefully, I mean, the track should be fine for overtaking tomorrow, I'd expect. On the Grand Prix circuit of no Mickey Mouse chicanes. I'm assuming people are a bit off on overtaking on. What was I going to say? I can't actually remember. And Ocon up to 10th now, so he did have to serve that 10-second time penalty. He's not doing awfully so far. Currently a big gap between him and Rogovic, so something tells me someone from the front would have had to pit. Oh, it would have been Lance Stroll. It was Lance Stroll, of course. Forgot about that. Albon's still at the rear of the pack. Did he have to? He must have pitted as well, or something's happened because he's quite far back now. Got the two Saubers again running next to each other. Maloney is yet to finish the Grand Prix outside of the points. He's yet to finish a sprint race inside the points. So, of course, second place last time out in where was it? Adria. Very good race. Let's go on board with Behrman while we watch him follow the top three. It's a bit wide there from Russell, actually. We go into the chicane. Russell had a bit of a wobble going through the normal final corner. Of course, this circuit, not the final corner. But the Brit, leading the championship, needs a good race. He wants to impress. Of course, the academy driver, of course, he won at the team that he kind of drives for. Of course, it's Haas's home team, engine provider-wise, being Ferrari powered. So that was a good win for them and for the Tifosi as well. And potentially replacing the man in second place. But we're not sure if he'll continue next year. He's not doing too bad. He's currently 6th in the championship. But he'd only scored points in one race. Now it's his second place at South Africa, which he almost won. And then he did technically finish inside the points at Adria, but he had a 10-second time penalty for his crash with Ocon in the final lap, which to be honest is a bit worthless because Ocon was a lap down. But unfortunately, all the rules, if you crash into someone, you still get the penalty for it. Doesn't matter if they're a lap down or not. Anyway, who should we go on board now? Let's go on board with Leclerc. If you go through the chicane. Let's watch Leclerc now. I want to do some more on boards. Sir Antonelli. Of course, Antonelli was not classified last time out. First time I've seen a driver not classified since I think it was Laguna Seca last year. Can't remember who it was, but unfortunately he had this weird pit lane issue, glitch thing, which meant that he kept breaking his front wing every single time he came into the pits. Anyway, I thought Leclerc was going to try and make a move on Behrman then. Did Behrman tap the wall? I'm not too sure, but Leclerc's looking racy. Is he going to get past Oliver Behrman? No, he's not quite going to make it there. He makes a move. He can try and make a lunge. Down inside goes Leclerc on Behrman. He stacked everyone up. Leclerc hits the wall. That's a front wing end plate gone. Antonelli as well. More contact between them as they go through the long left-hander flat out towards the final corner. Just the chicane to go now as it's Behrman versus Antonelli. Going through the chicane. There's Drugovic as well going wide. As they go into the chicane, there's bouncing people off. As Behrman in the wall. Behrman's round. Behrman's round. He holds Tsunoda up as well. Also Lawson I think got up in that as well. Yes he is. Behrman's off and into the wall. Lawson's stuck behind him. And that's the championship leader. Spun round. Any chance of him making up points on the McLarens is over. And he's not going anywhere. And where's his championship rival Oscar Piastri? He'll get past him. It's not going to count for much because Piastri's still outside the points. But he'll be in 9th place now. To be one position off the points. If anyone else has issues in front, that will be him still going. And where is Behrman still? He's still stuck. He's not going anywhere. Behrman's out of the wet race. Oliver Bearman is out, and Liam Lawson finally gets going. That's his race ruined, unfortunately for the Kiwi. 10th in the championship on 20 points. He was looking to make a few. He would have definitely gotten past the two Saubers, who Maloney and Porcher 8th and 9th in the championship. He would have moved up to front of them, and possibly Drogovic as well. So unfortunately, Liam Lawson has been moved down the field. But Bearman is huge. He's still got a 28-point lead. It's still the exact same. Lap 16 of 30. We're basically halfway through his race now. But championship leader Oliver Bearman is out of it. Second DNF of the race. Of course, Gasly out on the second lap. And now Bearman out. Huge shame for the rookie. Who, as I was saying just before all that drama, he's definitely the favourite to replace Hamilton if he retires for a second time at the end of this season. And then he will go to Haas, who knows. Conor Zilic would be nice. I know I keep mentioning Conor Zilic's name, that's probably because he's the only NASCAR driver who has a chance of ever getting anywhere near F1 in my opinion. I don't think it will happen, but maybe one day. Of course, currently he's injured, so you can't even do a wild card. He's injured himself in victory lane. Thankfully, all okay. It was very scary at the end of the race last week at Watkins Glen. Of course, we had the huge crash with Austin Hill and Michael McDowell, which basically confirmed Austin Hill was never going anywhere near the championship. I can guarantee you that now. F1 have confirmed. Well, they've already confirmed Devlin Di Francesco is not wildcarding next week. If you've been banned from wildcarding for something that isn't to do with F1, like the initial rules, then you've got an issue. You just fix your driving, really. Of course, Austin Hill banned from Iowa after crashing Eric Almirola deliberately in Indianapolis. Quite blatantly intentional, but you can say otherwise, Austin. But still, Verstappen dominating this race. Of course, he dominated last time and then miscalculated the tyres, didn't manage his tyres enough. It's the same thing going to happen here in Valencia. Hopefully he can manage on. He saw everything fine to do with tyres at Australia in the sprint race, and then the Grand Prix was the opposite, where people had to pit near the end. We do see that quite often, people pitting near the end. I don't know why, but it kind of spices the race up. We still don't know who's won. It could be lap 28 out of 30, and we still won't know who's won, because people might end up pissing. But Verstappen, who leads, going on to lap 19 of 30. And of course, Ricardo Tormo, named after the great Ricardo Tormo. We'll go into detail of him tomorrow. And of course, Canadian Grand Prix in 2 weeks' time. The schedule for that isn't confirmed, by the way. We're not too sure. Of course, it's Labor Day weekend, which is the annual Labor Day sprint for, I think that's what it's called, for multiple series, including Trans Am, NASCAR Canada, Formula Regional, F4 America, and who else was there? Nissan and Radical, I think, are the other two. But yeah, so that's why the schedule, because we've already got the 4 practice sessions spread over 3 hours instead of 5. And then who else? Yeah, that's really it. And then we don't know the schedule for that yet. We have a F1 have produced a mock schedule for next weekend, 2 weekends time, but it's all to change because anything can happen. The only schedule currently officially released is Trans Am, and that was basically the same as last year. I think a few practice sessions with 5 minutes off, but yeah, we'll see what happens in terms of that. That will be released officially in the coming days, I'm sure. And then what else was there? We have wildcards. Nothing confirmed just yet. There aren't really many major Canadian drivers. Of course, we have a few. Who else was there? I'm trying to think. Like, off the top of my head, of course, we've got Devlin Di Francesco, who is actually racing that weekend anyway at Nashville for the season finale. We have Robert Wickens as a shout. He could do something. There's some Canadian GT racer, I can't remember his name, but he's racing at Nürburgring that weekend anyway, for 3 hours. DeAngelis in WEC for Aston Martin, they could pick him up. It doesn't have to be home drivers, of course, it could be other drivers, of course. Aaron, I think, will be racing, or he will be racing at a circuit that isn't his home Grand Prix, because there's no Estonian Grand Prix. Never has been, and probably never will be, because there's no Estonian tracks in Formula. Or there's no. I think there's one Estonian racetrack that comes off the top of my head. I can't remember what it's called, but yeah. And then James Hinchcliffe. That's another big Canadian name. But yeah. Anyway, almost done with this race now. Lap 22 of 30. Either go through the past the Michelin board. Of course, the circuit, all the advertising boards will be completely different tomorrow because these are Formula E sponsors from the Formula E race. Heineken, ABB. What else have we got? Well, FIA, of course. DHL. All kind of F1 related sponsors, I guess. Apart from ABB, that's a major sponsor of Formula E. Always has been, probably always will be. What even is ABB actually? ABB. Technology for Industry. Yeah, it's just some technology company. Julius Baer, that's another big Formula E sponsor. Is it Julius Baer? I can't remember how you pronounce it. But yeah, Alliand as well, big Formula E sponsor. Not really good Formula 1 though. Bosch, do they do Formula 1? I'm not too sure. Anyway, I'm gonna go for a little break. Lap 22 of 30 will be lap 23 of 30 as they cross the line, and I'll see you at the end of this lap. Welcome back to Valencia. We have not long to go now, about 7 laps left of this sprint race. It's been an okay one. Not been the most entertaining in the world, but we've seen incidents, and we've had a better one than last week. So, pretty big gap between Antonelli and Drogovic further back. Ocon is 7th, so after that 10-second time penalty, of course. Ocon yet to score a point this season. All 60 of Haas's points have been from Behrman. And if we go on the World Constructor Championship standings, it is Haas who lead it They're on 68 points. I forgot that Ford already finished 6th last week as a wild card. So 68 points for them, then 5 points behind are McLaren, but of course McLaren haven't used their wild card yet. It's the only reason why Haas are in front. And then Sauber third on 52 points, Ferrari fourth on 51 points. Sorry about that. And then Williams on 50 points in 5th place, and then everyone else is kind of nowhere. Red Bull have been very disappointing because Verstappen, who's leading currently, and hopefully for him he can carry on where he is, try and get some more points. Tiredness. Anyway, still Verstappen in front of Hamilton, in front of Russell. It's been like that since the safety car restart about 20 laps ago, but not long at all now as they go through the chicane and start lap 26. 5 to go, and then the sprint will be decided. I wonder if we'll get another first time winner tomorrow. We have had one so far. We've had two first time winners so far this year. Teo Chair at China, and then Behrman last time out at Adria. But of course, second place in both those races, also people that have never won before. Second for Antonelli at China, and then second for Maloney at Adria. Leclerc just smacked the wall there. Has he got damage? I don't think so, but he's lost the position to Antonelli. What on earth happened to Leclerc? Just drove into the wall. Lucky he's not got damage there. That was good, wasn't it, Charles? See if he has to pit for damage. I don't think he will. No, he doesn't. He's luckily got away with that. He already had the front wing damage from being stupid at the chicane. But no, it wasn't even at the chicane. It was at the shortcut. But anyway, lap 27 of 30 now. 4 to go. And there's a round now that we saw people pitting in the sprint race last week. So if we did see people pitting, it would probably be this lap. But of course, we hope that isn't the case, because these 5 have done very well. They've been the front 5 for basically the whole race, apart from Behrman was in this group. Got a bit of Mercedes Civil War going on a little bit further back for 3rd place. Antonelli versus Russell. Antonelli round the outside. Love the inside line for the shortcut. Are you going to make it work? He does. He barges his way down past Russell. And now Antonelli's up onto the podium. So a good move from the Italian, trying to make amends from his horrid weekend last week at his home Grand Prix. If we go around the chicane one more time, or not one more time, but another time, is into the pits. Leclerc's in, and I think Russell came in as well. Yes, they're all in. Verstappen in, Russell in, Hamilton stays out. No, it wasn't Russell, it was Antonelli that came in. So Hamilton second, Hamilton first, Russell second. Ocon now leads, Piastri 4th, Verstappen's coming out, Norris in 5th as well. Verstappen's well ahead of everyone, and it's the top 3 whose tyres have obviously not been able to last. There's also other people coming in. Is that Carlos Sainz? No, that's Liam Lawson as well coming in. But now it's Hamilton who leads. Can he get his first sprint win? Get his first win for Ferrari in the sprint race after narrowly missing out at South Africa just about a month ago now. South Africa, no, it wasn't a month ago, it was Australia. No, just over a month ago, I guess. Anyway, It'll be Russell versus Hamilton for the win. That's if they have the tyres to stay out. Let's see. Are they going to come in? They do. So the top two as well coming in. Ocon, does he come in? He's already pitted this race to serve a 10-second time penalty and to replace his front wing. Ocon stays out. So with 2 laps to go, is it going to be Ocon to get his first win for Haas in the sprint race? And the 2 McLarens, do they stay out? Yes, they do. So it's second for Piastri, and it's going to be third for Lando Norris. This is the worst case scenario for Oliver Behrman, who, if these lot are able to stay and win the race, or stay where they are, it will cut the gap down to, I think, 21 points for tomorrow. Vesti in 4th, not too bad from him. You've got Sainz 5th, Pourchaire 6th, Verstappen in 7th place, so dominating, and again, he isn't going to get the points that he wants in the sprint race after dominating. He's not going to be able to win it. Hamilton in 8th place, Russell 10th, Hamilton in the front, Leclerc and Antonelli 13th and 14th, right at the back for them. But how are the leaders getting on? This is the penultimate lap. We'll see the white flag this next time by. And Ocon, his tyres, oh, he goes wide. His tyres must be gone. Let me get news on the radio there. His tyres are completely gone. So Piastri, he goes wide through the through the normal final corner, and through the chicane they go. Ocon has 1 lap to hold on. Piastri with DRS. Is he going to make it work into turn 1? Let's see. This will cut the gap down to 20 points for Behrman if Piastri is able to get the position. They go through 2. Not really many overtaking opportunities now until the shortcut. So Ocon just has to hold on. Oh, Piastri looks too far back though. But Piastri's rears apparently are completely gone. And Piastri picked on the same lap, so I'm not be surprised if Piastri has the same issue. But Ocon having to hold on. This is the final overtaking opportunity. Piastri goes wide. Ocon goes wide, and then he messes the next corner up. He goes into the gravel, and Piastri down the inside. Piastri takes the lead. Ocon fights back though. Does he go off the track there? I think he does. They bang wheels. Norris not getting involved in this battle as well. But Piastri into the lead. Ocon tries to dive it down the inside. It's not going to work though. And Piastri will lead. Will Ocon send one down inside on the chicane? Yes, he will. With the rear completely gone, he has to back out with Piastri. And now Piastri into the pits. Norris into the pits as well. What on earth happened there? But it's going to be Ocon who wins in Spain. He wins the sprint race. And why have they pitted? What is going on there? Why is the 2 McLarens pitted? Why are even more people pitting on this final lap? Then leave Verstappen in 5th. Vesti 4th. I think Vesti also pitted, yes. What a weird way to finish this race. Why have they come into the pits? That is strange. They didn't even hit the checkered flag. Very confusing, that. I'm assuming that didn't cost Sainz a position and he lost it elsewhere. Because we saw him as one of the people who came into the pits. No, Verstappen got that position because Sainz pitted. That is weird. I'm quite confused about why he's done that, or why they've all done that, really. Very strange one indeed. But yeah, that is it for the sprint race. They're going to lose points because of that. I don't get why they've pitted. Maybe they miscalculated fuel and they just had to come into the pits and do an extra lap, which meant they would have had enough fuel and ended up being disqualified. Strange one. Anyway, let's go through your results. Gasly crashed on the 2nd lap. Behrman ended up getting spun himself round at the final chicane and ended up 19th. Awful for his championship standings. Still leads the championship by 21 points now. Lawson 18th, Doohan 17th, Stroll 16th, Snowder 15th, Antonelli 14th, Albon 13th, Leclerc 12th, Maloney 11th, Roglic 10th, Russell 9th, and your point scorers Hamilton 8th, Pourchaire 7th, Sainz 6th, Verstappen 5th after dominating it for the whole race. Obviously the tyres, just like last week, not holding up. He ends up in 5th place. Vesti, good for him in 4th place. Like Norris 3rd, Piastri 2nd. We saw both of them involved in it on the opening lap at the chicane. So doing well to close the gap on the Haas, on Behrman, and then Ocon, his first points of the season to win the race after also being involved in that open lap incident, getting a 10-second penalty, serving it the very next lap. He is going to win the sprint race, his first win since the Indian Grand Prix. Of course, it's not really a win, it's a sprint win, doesn't really count to anything, but it's 8 points, his first 8 points of the season, and I'm pretty sure it's 8 points, which means that Haas still lead the championship. Let's see, 68 plus 8 will be on 76. And then 7 plus 6 is 13. So I think they'll be level on points. Haas and McLaren going into the Grand Prix tomorrow. Anyway, timings for said Grand Prix. Let's get them up then. It will be sprint break, no, qualifying at 10 AM UK time, 11 AM local time, and then the Grand Prix 2 PM UK time, 3 PM local time. So I'll see you then.